First up is 32 Clarks Point Road Conservation Restriction. And we have Mark Robinson, I believe, at Town Hall to speak to this. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Mark Robinson. I'm the Executive Director of the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trust, which is a regional nonprofit group. We work in partnership with local land trusts, in this case, the Eastham Conservation Foundation, which is the local land trust serving the town of Eastham since 1978. And I'm here tonight to seek your recommendation to the Select Board for a perpetual conservation restriction on a 1.12 acre vacant lot known as 32 Clarks Point Road, up against but not fronting exactly on Great Pond, and owned by the Goose Pond Camp Realty Trust, Sarah Mumford as trustee. And Ms. Mumford intends to place this conservation restriction on the property to preserve it in perpetuity. It is eligible for the state income tax credit program that I am working the paperwork for. So the conservation restriction in the first instance will come to my group, the Compact, in order to qualify for that tax credit. And eventually the Eastham Conservation Foundation would be the permanent holder of the restriction and the responsible for monitoring and enforcing the terms of the restriction. The terms are standard. Basically, the woods will stay as woods, will continue to be private property. Next to the Mumford home, no public access will be allowed. And this is a very generous gift, I think, of value and purpose by Ms. Mumford. As you know, the family has been very instrumental in preserving land in and around the Wiley Park area over many decades. So happy to answer any questions, but essentially we're looking for the Conservation Commission to make a recommendation to the Select Board that it's in the public interest to preserve this lot.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I'm going to ask the Commission if they have any questions or comments. No, I think the Commission generally is in favor of protecting undeveloped land, and this being so close to other protected land makes it an opportunity. Alex has drafted a letter to the Select Board that I think everybody in the Commission had a chance to review. So I'm going to ask if anybody has any comments on the letter. Okay, so if somebody would like to, we'll make this quick, make a motion to direct Alex to submit the letter to the conservation, to the Select Board in support of this conservation restriction.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Chuck? Chuck, you're muted.
Yes.
Janet? You're muted.
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, and thank you, Alex, for your help on this.
Next up, we have a request for determination of applicability filed by Bridget Hartman. Applicant proposes to remove 12 existing pine trees at property located at 1000 and 1020 Samoset Road, map 14, parcel 072 and 071A. And I'm going to ask if the applicant is here, if they wish to speak briefly about the project.
Applicant is here in the form of Carl Hartman. I'm a trustee of Brigitte's property and also have permission to speak on behalf of Natalie Miller, our neighbor.
Okay, would you like to just give us a brief overview?
Yeah, briefly, you know, we've got an insurance letter a couple of years ago, said that several trees are threatening our house. We have certainly felt that over the last few years, as well as storms have begun to clear away the level of trees on the pond side. You can see, those who visited saw that some of the trees were askew, and it was an arrow coming right from the northeast towards our master bedroom. I think as I articulated in our RDA, it does give us some concerns. We hesitated originally when we renovated the house 8 or 9 years ago, and had an NOA to remove those trees because we like them. But at this point, I think the concern over our health and our property is more important. And so spoke with Natalie. They are certainly on board with it and are willing to actually pay for part of the project as well.
Thank you. And some of us were out there for a site visit this morning, and I'm going to ask Cinnamon if she might like to review site conditions.
Sure. First, I want to thank you for the very thorough and clear marking of the trees and the filing. It was very nice to see that. So there were 12 trees marked very clearly. I have notes on all of them. I felt the ones closest to the house, which were 5, 6, 7, and 8, I could absolutely see why they should be removed or wanted to be removed. So I would, recommend that those can be removed. I feel like the other ones do deserve a discussion. There's like 9 and 10 are very far away. They were in good shape, or not far away, but they were further away. They were in good shape. 11 and 12, there were lollipops. I didn't feel like they were just lots of growth on the top, nothing really on the bottom. I would say they could be removed, but could maybe be cut down to snags. 1 and 2 were the bigger ones down towards the front of the view. They are one-sided, but they were healthy and they were leaning away. Same thing with 3. So like I said, those are my feelings about it. He also has 3 trees outside of the 100-foot buffer that I could see could be removed, and we don't really have anything to say about that, but yes, I would recommend those as well. He did offer mitigation. It's going to be a shady site even with the trees removed, so you recommended dogwoods and some other things. So like I said, I don't think every single one of them needs to be removed, but open for discussion.
Would you like me to address?
You're welcome to respond if you'd like.
Okay. I've had several tree fellers, arborists out, and they actually recommended removing more. They were thinking really about a zone of about 50 feet out because of the height of the trees at this point. A number of them are aging, and some of them have very thin tops. I think number 12 is basically dead at this point. Let me address numbers 1 and 2, which are basically directly in front of our master bedroom. And, they're within about 20 feet of, number 2 is within about 20 feet of the master bedroom. And right there in that northeast wind corridor, it does have probably a bit of a lean away because of branch growth, but, the capriciousness of the winds as we saw this past winter, you don't know what's going to happen, right? I mean, that's the real issue. Those are actually our favorite trees, and it would bother me the most to remove them. But on the other hand, at this point, as I expressed, those are the ones that trouble me a lot. It's a pointing arrow, so to speak, at the bedroom. 9 and 10 are further out. They're about 35 feet out. They're quite large. I think as I articulated to some of the folks who were there this morning, this is our opportunity, given permission and having negotiated with the other landowner, Natalie Miller and her children, to take care of this issue now. We don't know what's going to happen to the property in the future. Natalie is in assisted living. And, you know, I would be preferable to take care of the trees on her side of the line now as opposed to in the future, because I don't know where she'll be at, where they're going to be at, who's going to own the property. I have no objection to, you know, creating some snags. And, you know, something like number 10, I could see easily being felled and just dropped. I don't know if you folks are, you know, I've certainly read for 1090 on the other side of us, where a lot of work has been done by Wilkinson and folks, you know, where they've taken trees and just dropped them in the buffer zone within the 50 feet and down into the towards the wetlands. It's a habitat, right? I mean, each one of these turns out to be a habitat, and that's fine. Questions?
Well, I'm going to see questions. Greg?
Muted.
Muted.
I'm sorry. Did the insurance company, when they looked at your house, identify any specific trees that they were concerned with?
No, the fellow who was there was a lawyer, and he just swept a broad arc. These trees, oh, they're a problem, basically. You know, he also identified a wall that's behind a dense bunch of blueberries at the front of our property as potentially a liability issue. And I'm like, folks generally don't walk out in that part of the garden. You know, he was seeing liability everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mike, anything from you? Joanne?
Hey, just a comment. I noticed there's no kind of ratio for the mitigation plantings. So I appreciate and like what I'm hearing about potentially leaving snags or leaving the felled trees for habitat. But in the event we do allow the trees to be taken, I do think we should establish kind of at least the 2-for-1 ratio, because it looks like it's smaller kind of shrub-like trees as opposed to the pines. And I will say, I do note that we had a number of pines fall this past winter, and you know, the pines do tend to hold the ice and the snow and become very heavy. So if these were other kinds of trees, I might be more opposed to it. But in this case, I would lean towards caution. So generally be supportive if we can do things like snags and leaving the logs and doing at least 2-for-1 mitigation. I can see us being on the path to yes. Thanks.
Janet?
I'm interested in hearing from you and Mike and Greg, and also from Alex, who are also out there. Cinnamon seemed to suggest, or did suggest, removing 5, 6, 7, 8, leaving 9 and 10, leaving 11 and 12 as snags, and also leaving 1 and 2. So would any of the 3 or 4 of you make some comments about your observations?
Okay, Greg? And then Mike?
I agree with Cinnamon on 5, 8, 7, 6. I think should go, and maybe 11 and 12 or as snags. And I was a little bit hesitant about 1, 2, 3, and 4, just because they were leaning in that direction toward the water.
Mike?
I also agree 5, 6, 7, 8. I have no problem with those being taken out. I'd add that there were the 3 outside of our jurisdiction that I think would also reasonably be taken out. So that's 7 trees being taken out if we're counting. And I'm glad we're having a conversation about the other trees. I don't have strong feelings about snags versus leaving logs, but I think those are good ideas.
I'm going to mention the reason we're talking about the trees outside of jurisdiction is because it's a related ecosystem, and the trees outside of jurisdiction would equal 10 trees coming down on the neighboring property, and a total of 15 trees altogether, which in and of itself is a fairly big impact on an environment. So that even though the 3 trees are just outside of jurisdiction, they're all related to the impact of taking out any of the trees. So just to clarify that for people who are sitting in on the meeting. I agree. Yeah.
I'm mindful. I mean, when I first got the message from Alex, well, what about those other 3 trees? I hadn't even given them thought for a while. And I had to go out and look again, to say, oh, okay. A is a snag already. It'll fall probably by itself. It's dead by itself, and it's leaning away. I mean, that can stay. B is probably the one I'd want to take of those 3. C is a big one, and the tree cut. It's towards the east-southeast. Some of the folks said that it's of a size, and if you get a hurricane, it's certainly one that could take out that east side of the house. But I'm, again, the reason, I'd like to get stuff done on that side of the property line is I don't know if I'll ever have a chance in the future.
Well, it sounds like generally the commission didn't have a problem with the 3 trees just outside
Right.
jurisdiction.
No, I was
our
addressing the-
concern was more of the overall impact of
Right.
that many trees
Right,
coming out, and the need to look at a project in its entirety
right.
for impact.
Well, that's why I'm saying,
Yeah.
certainly I would rather leave some of those and address the ones that are pointing at my bedroom, like 1, 2, and 4 particularly. 3 actually leans towards the house. And 4 is very thin crowned.
Yeah. Well, I agree on 5, 6, 7, and 8. 11 and 12 as snag sounds like a good idea. And 9 and 10, were those ones you were particularly concerned about?
Well, they're, within easy striking distance, and they're over on the other side of the property line. If there's a time to do it, it would be now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They seem further away to me and not as much of a danger as perhaps 1 and 2.
That's true, absolutely. And 4.
And 4, well, yeah.
4, I do have notes that it was pretty spindly.
It was kind of I think it was a tree that had kind of struggled to find its place because it was pretty spindly. So I don't have any trouble with 4. So 4, 5, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I would be fine with 9 and 10, not so much. And 11 and 12 as snags, or snag and dropping 1. But yeah, I probably would just give you the 1, 2, and 4. So that leaves. Did we discuss 3?
I have notes saying that it's it's in pretty good shape, and it is leaning somewhat away from the house.
Right. It
Uh,
was leaning more towards the pond.
No, that's,
Is that?
can I differ? There's a tree,
Yeah, of course.
there's a tree right next to it that is the leaner towards the pond. I don't know if you guys can see me. One leans the pond and the other one's leaning towards the house. Which is why when I looked at them and I talked it through, with a fellow from, was it Arbotech? We were going through trees and he said, well, you probably don't have to worry about the one that's leaning towards the pond. The one that's leaning towards the house, yeah, you probably would want to address. And that's number 3. And they're right next to each other.
So four being leaning. Okay. 4
Four
was
is,
the one leaning away.
4 is the spindly one.
Spindly one.
Right,
Okay.
I didn't mark the one that's leaning away because I'm not
Right.
asking for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just. There's a lot of trees. I'm just cycling them through in
Right.
my head. And you, I have to say, you did a really fabulous job of numbering them and making sure we knew what was what during our site visit.
Thank
so
you.
we do appreciate that. I would give you top honors for that alone. Yeah. So right. So where are we? 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I think we're all in agreement. 9 and 10, I think, should stay. 11 and 12 either snags or drop. So that's just 1, 2, and 3. They were kind of healthy. Let's put that aside for a minute and go back to Joanne's questions about mitigation. And numbers, because we usually require up to 2 to 1. I'm going to let Alex speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to note when it came to the mitigation, I observed on the site that there was an understory, and so there were saplings of oaks and pine trees that could, eventually replace this canopy that's being removed. So I'm not saying no mitigation at all, but I think the commission should consider that when discussing mitigation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's juniper there, there's bearberry, there's all sorts of stuff in there already. Black cherry.
Yeah.
There's a few little pine trees, a lot of oak. They give us the summer screening. But I'm happy to, we thought elderberry would be appropriate because that's certainly good for the birds. They get happy with elderberries. Dogwood, the native variety, seems to do well on our property. Arrowwood does well on our property as well. We've had some struggles with, on the old list there was an azalea, and it never has really done well in, on the other part of the yard. It was one of our mitigation plantings.
That's not a local native.
Well, there was one on the list 8 or 9 years ago. It was something like Azalea nobillo or something like that. And I struggled to find it, number 1, and number 2, it didn't do well. So I didn't put it on this list. And then, of course...
It is sometimes hard to find some natives at the nurseries.
Yeah, you have to go up to Framingham sometimes for some of them. And then, of course, the native grass mix, if there's, any damaged spots or stuff like that, I would certainly put that in.
Yeah, well, I'd be in favor of counting the understory as 1-to-1 mitigation because I think it would come up pretty nicely once it has some more light and space. So, of the others, I think we would need to come up with a number of how many.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these are all kind of mostly mid-story trees, shrubs that you're proposing, rather than taller. So I think I'd be okay with that.
I have two willow saplings that came out of further down the bank at our house. You know, that can easily be put out there as well. I'd put it further out, but put it in, you know, near the bank or something, you know.
Are those gray willows?
They're whatever's native down in,
I don't think that those are actually native
okay.
willows. Most of them aren't,
Okay.
I believe.
Immigrants from who knows where, right?
Hey, a lot of immigrants do really, really well. But if you're for habitat value,
I'm open to guidance.
it's good to have balance. Yeah. So I think we would want like 1-to-1. And I don't particularly care. You have a nice choice that you've outlined of plants, and I don't think it really matters which ones you want to pick out of that list. But I
Okay.
think for each tree that's coming out or getting dropped or turned into a snag, I would want one from that list.
Okay.
And then we'll count. I would be happy to count the understory for the other part of the mitigation. I don't know if the rest of you guys agree with that. And
Sounds
then
good to me. Since I made the suggestion, I think your logic holds, Karen.
Okay, and then there's just the question of trees 1, 2, and 3. So somebody make a suggestion there, because we're kind of stuck there.
And I
I'm
suggest
ki-
we
Yeah.
err side of caution and consider that if the insurance company is telling him he's got to take them down and he doesn't, they may cancel him. And if it's 50-50, then I say go ahead and allow it, because the fact of the matter is on either side of the property going out quite a ways, there's lots of wood. We're talking about a lot of trees, but they're concentrated in and around the edge of the property where the house is. Overall, the impact of the total volume of trees on either side of the property is rather small. And with mitigation, I think it more than compensates for it between that and the understory. So I'd say let them take 3 out.
Well, on one side, most of the wooded area seems to be the neighbor's property. Just to note, that doesn't diminish the fact that it's woody. I'm just noting. Janet.
Well, when I read the letter, it seemed that the insurance company was saying that these could come down, not that they had to come down. So I wouldn't think they would cancel the insurance for that reason.
It's probably because I squawked. But
They don't cancel, they just don't renew you. I can explain that in detail later.
Okay. So I think with the mitigation, I would be fine with the trees coming out. And I think the understory should actually grow nicely and produce some more trees
so
around the property.
can I clarify? So 1, 2, and 3 are also okay to remove?
Well, I think Chuck said he's okay with that. I seem to be okay with that. Greg?
I'm okay with that as well.
So it kind of sounds like we're kind of have a decision that we would be okay with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 coming out. 9 and 10 staying put. 11 and 12 either being snags or being cut and dropped. How does that sound workable?
That sounds workable. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And then I'll just run through the mitigation. So we're counting the existing understory as 1-to-1 mitigation, and then for every tree that's coming out or snagged or left as fallen, you would have one plant from the list we discussed, which is elderberry, dogwood, arrowwood. And I certainly think you could pick some others from there in consultation with Alex,
Okay,
as well as the native grasses you've mentioned.
okay.
But let me have Janet and Mike have their hands up. So
Yes.
Janet first and then Mike.
I would like to specify that 11 and 12 will be left as snags.
As opposed to being snags or dropped and left.
Yes.
Mike?
Does the mitigation include B and C?
It does not include the trees outside of jurisdiction.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, it would only include in jurisdiction.
Okay.
How do you feel about snag versus cut and drop?
You're,
I'm
oh,
happy for either.
Okay, and Carl?
I'm fine, either way. I mean, ideally, I would drop them, but I could see dropping number 3, because that gives habitat down in that, that wide area down in there.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. Any objections from the? Okay, all right. So I'm going to run through it, and then I'm going to ask somebody to make a motion. So we are in agreement that you can take down trees 1 through 8. Tree 3 would cut and drop.
Assuming the tree cutters are happy with that. It may,
Right.
Danger, I don't know.
Right. Okay. So, right, we're allowing for safety.
Yeah,
So you can either cut and drop, or you can remove
right.
tree 3. 9 and 10 are staying put. 11 and 12, you're going to cut as snags.
Yep.
So that would be like bucket 12 to 16 feet is the usual snag, I think. Right, Alex? Yeah. A 12 to 16 foot snag. And then for mitigation, you had a list of elderberry, dogwood, arrowwood, as well as native, and then one of those or another native of similar size for each of the trees that are coming out. Any changes you could make in consultation with Alex, as well as the native grass. And then we would also have special conditions for tree pruning and removal. And this would be a determination of a positive 2B and a negative 3. So if somebody would like to make that motion.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Joanne,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
and I am a yes.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks, folks.
And thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Next, we have a certificate of compliance filed by David and Susan Long Fritz, SE 19-1760, for the installation of a new deck at property located at 49 Long Street Lane, map 10, parcel 343. And just seeing if anybody's here to discuss this. Don't really think we need to have somebody, but I'm going to ask Greg to just review what he saw on site.
Yes, the commissioners visited the site this morning, and we examined the deck and the location relative to the plan and the map. and the deck looks like it's right on and built to the same specifications that they had planned to do. In addition, there was mitigation of beach plums, and those beach plum plants looked like they were thriving. So I would say that the goal of the project has been completed.
And anybody else who was there this morning? Any comments? Any questions, comments from the commission? Okay. Anything from you, Alex?
Nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay, so if we could have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for SE 19-1760.
Move to approve the certificate of compliance for SC 19-1760.
And is there a second?
Second.
Mike,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, and then we have a certificate of compliance, continuation of certificate of compliance filed by John and Jane Malloy, SE 19-1579, and they've asked for continuance to our July 28th meeting. So if we could have a motion and a second for that.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second,
Second.
Joanne,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And then we have a reissue of the certificate of compliance for the Eastham Conservation Foundation, SE 19-1740, for the habitat improvement plan to establish safe nesting sites for the state-listed diamondback terrapin on upland sections of Beast River Marsh and 4 upland sites at Boat Meadow Marsh, located on the bridge at Bridge Road, located at 655, 735, 795 Herringbrook Road, map 14, parcel 015, 016A, 016B, 0, 775, 780, 725 Bridge Road, map 20, parcel 092, 093, 090, map 19, parcel 002. And we're asked to reissue this because somehow the order of conditions got filed twice at the Barnstable Registry of Deeds. And when we issued the certificate of compliance previously, it did not include the information for the second book and page number under which the additional order of conditions had been noted. And they would not accept that one certificate of compliance to discharge both orders of conditions, even though they were the same order of conditions. And we are being asked to issue a additional certificate of compliance specifically addressing the additional book and page number in order to appease the registry. So if we could have a motion to approve this and a second and move this along.
Move to approve the reissue of the certificate of compliance.
Second.
Okay. Janet,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay. Hopefully this one sticks. Next, we have an administrative review filed by Devette Russo for the removal of 2 poplar trees, pruning of 3 dead cedars, and treatment for cedar blight at 295 Corliss Way, map 21, parcel 43A. And I see the homeowner here. Would you like to briefly describe your project for us?
Sure. There are 2 very.
I'm sorry. If you could identify yourself for the record.
Oh, sorry. This is Devette Russo and Bob Pfeiffer. There are 2 very tall poplar trees that haven't done the measurement, but probably somewhere between 20 and 30 feet from the house. and they're both located at the line between the 100-foot and 50-foot buffer. This spring has been a windy one and a wet one, and we noticed that one of the poplars was beginning to lean towards the house. That particular poplar had also lost a very large branch last year. If the poplars, if either one of them falls, they're going to do significant damage to the back of the house. We had an arborist from Bartlett come out and take a look, and he wrote a letter with his findings for those two trees. And it's his assessment that at some point they, would probably fall. So they're better taken care of now than waiting for a bad storm to come through. The other part of the project, we have 3 really nice cedars within the 50-foot buffer that had been really healthy up until this past winter. As I'm looking out the kitchen window at them now, there's quite a bit of deadwood on the cedars, and the arborist from Bartlett also believes that they have cedar blight. We would like to have the deadwood pruned from those trees and have them treated for the blight. I noticed on the agenda they're called dead trees. They're diseased trees, but not dead by any means.
Those are very beautiful poplar trees. We were out there this morning for a site visit. They're very much eye catching.
Well, the bark is beautiful
in the architecture. Before I get into that, though, I'm going to ask Cinnamon to just review the site conditions for us.
Sure, I totally agree with Karen. They're very they do stand out on the property. They're beautiful. I can understand how they would be unsettling. They're big. They're not close, but they're close enough to your home. So I can see where removal would be important to you. As for the cedars, I have no problem with pruning the deadwood. Could you talk a little bit about the process of what you understand for the treatment?
I don't think it's a systemic treatment. I believe it's a spray, and it's a fungicide, which is not a wonderful compound to, be floating around.
So Bartlett's a great company. I think, not windy conditions, dry conditions. Oh, yeah. So I'm sure they would follow all those recommendations. The poplars, they were gorgeous, and I'm sure you would not like to take them down, but I do see how it would be, you would want to take them down. So were they there when you bought the home?
Oh yeah, and I agree, they're beautiful. The bark is gorgeous. The leaves are beautiful. They fill that space nicely. There are other trees in front of them, on the shore of the cove.
And they're recommending them because of the size and the nature of them, not that they're diseased or anything.
Yeah, when that large branch came down, that was about a 10-inch diameter branch. The entire inside of that branch was heart rot. Okay. We actually saved a piece of it. It was a woodpecker had turned into a nest. And you could just see the the very heart of the limb is being chewed up pretty badly. I'm standing here looking at it now. There's another branch also kind of hanging off of the tree.
The one on the right.
Yeah, that every time we look at it, it's lower, and every time we have a blow, it's lower and lower and lower. There's a crack there. When the arborist was here, he noticed another crack higher. For one of the main branches, so that the tree, in his opinion, is something that is not going to survive for long. My biggest concern is uproot, and the leaning, is significant. It was after that last, I can't remember, maybe 3 weeks ago or whatever. After that last really, really windy, storm with a lot of rain, that we know it was sort of bending towards the house, but it's getting.
And there
worse.
are a lot of trees backing it up.
Yeah.
So I didn't even consider this, but now that you're talking, like, would we consider a snag for those?
Oh, sure. Sure.
What exactly is a snag?
That's
Could
where
you
they-
just
they-
define that?
Yeah, they can. I know what it is.
Taking the tree down to what is the what did you just say, 12 to 16 feet?
12 to 16 feet. So it
So-
becomes a perch for birds.
Yep. And if a 12 to 16 foot
So you're
trunk falls,
basically above any of the branches that are going out from the trunk? Or below?
Yes.
Below. rather.
below.
So you've got the trunk, but none of the branches that are above
Right.
it sticking out.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. And that'll damage the split rail fence if it falls, but that's easy to
Oh.
fix.
But
Yeah,
but you get the benefit of the birds liking it, and you
Oh,
get to watch
sure.
them. So
Yeah. No, don't
It's-
mind that at all. Yeah, we have a lot of really interesting birds here too. I'm a Merlin addict, so we put the phone outside and 24 different species of birds, over a half an hour. It's great.
oh, I thought for a minute there you meant actual merlins, but they go by so fast. You're kind of by the time you figure out that it's a merlin, they're
Oh yeah,
in another
yeah.
town.
Yeah, we actually had we heard of Merlin in Florida this past winter. It's a really cool bird.
Yeah. Okay. Were you considering any mitigation for the poplars?
There's so much stuff back there. I don't know. I mean, that whole area, as I mentioned, this whole lot was grass down to the water, and I think we mitigated 12,000 square feet. And planted all kinds of grasses and flowers and shrubs, and you're talking about understory plants all over down there. It's pretty crowded, and it's difficult to dig down
I
there.
can tell you from experience that I have tried to replant some things back there, and good luck trying to get a shovel into the
Yeah.
ground because it is solid. It is solid roots.
Yeah.
So you'd have to chop through the roots to get to anything, to make a hole to plant something, which is possible, but it's
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
bad.
the mitigation you did put in for other projects really looks beautiful and healthy, and
Thank you.
like it's happy to be there.
It is. Yep.
So it was nice to see that this morning.
Thanks.
I'm going to ask if any other questions, comments from the commission. Janet?
I like the idea of those two poplars becoming snags. I happen to have a poplar in my yard, and it broke off at about 12 feet up. And I have birds that have made nests in the trunk. Plus, of course, birds that like the leaves there in the summer. And who knows what insects are there.
Yep.
And
I-
plus
I-
that it's turned into a clump birch now.
Oh gosh, no kidding.
Well, the woodpeckers like them. The
Yeah, they
woodpeckers
like 'em a lot. Yeah.
Houses in those trees. So you can see
Well,
that. You've got a piece back there that has a beautiful woodpecker nest in it.
Yeah, they might wind up turning your snags into more woodpecker nests.
Yeah, I would think.
That's
so.
okay.
That's exactly right on top.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Any thoughts on mitigation? Okay, it sounds like we're good with the snags as enough. Okay, so if we could have a motion,
Excuse me.
yes,
How about the cedars?
the cedars.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think nobody had any issues with the
Okay,
cedars.
good.
So, I will mention, because usually cedar rust is handled by a copper-based fungicide, and as long as that is to echo what was said previously, as long as it's done appropriately, not on a windy day or rainy day, I think it's likely to stay pretty close to the area where it is being applied. So, and I think once you prune out the cedars, this will help protect them for a longer life. Alex, your hand was up.
I was just saying I could touch base with Bartlett beforehand, you know, just to make sure that I'm clear with their procedures on how they're going to apply the fungicide, and communicate, you know, the commission's concerns about it being applied in a controlled manner.
I'm sure, knowing Bartlett, that they likely would anyway, but I think that makes sense. We'll add that to the order of conditions. Okay, so if we could have a motion to approve the administrative review with special conditions for tree pruning and removal, with the 2 poplars to be left as snags of 12 to 16 feet, with the Bartlett to provide, or to Bartlett to discuss with Alex the methods for applying the fungicides, and Alex to express our concerns about that. Yeah. So if we could have a motion to approve with that.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, Joanne,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
and I am a yes. And we are done. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, and next, next up is plan change request filed by David and Joe Daigle, to order of conditions 19-1924 for the removal of 4 additional pitch pine trees at property located at 3 Linwood Trace, map 14, parcel 83B. And hi, Teresa.
Hi, good evening. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flex Design here on behalf of the Daigles. Yes, we originally were requesting to remove 4 trees. The Daigles had conversation with their abutting neighbor who had concerns about one of those trees located on the sort of the southeastern property line. And they determined that that tree really did not pose a hazard. So we're actually proposing to remove just 3 pitch pines. 2 of them are existing. They are within the limit of work. We originally had identified those trees to remain when we did the plan. However, one of them is severely leaning towards the building. Their root system will be compromised with the overdig for the foundation. And there are 2 that are very close to one another. We submitted photographs of the trees for your review, and they are all flagged in the field. Those 2 trees, numbered 1 and 2, are showing in one of the photographs, and they're located just to the north of the dwelling, the proposed dwelling that's to be constructed. The other tree is a snag. It was standing previously when we originally did the plan. It has blown over. It's hanging over the silt fence, so the tree stump itself is located just outside the limit of work, but the actual snag is hanging over the limit of work. The contractor is concerned that it poses a hazard to construction workers on the site. It is quite large and it is hanging into the limit of work. So we're proposing to remove those 3 trees. As we noted in our plan, because due to the location of those trees and their proximity to the proposed, or to the structure that's been approved, as well as the densely vegetated nature of the 50-foot no disturb zone, we're not proposing to plant additional trees to replace those that are leaning. But we do feel that the 50-foot buffer is completely vegetated and will remain in a natural state. 2 of the trees are located within the limit of work, the approved limit of work, and one of them is just outside, but it does pose a hazard. As a standing snag, it was perfectly fine to remain, but since it has blown over in recent storms, I think it should be removed. Thanks.
Thank you. We were out there this morning and had a look. I seem to remember when we permitted this that the amount of mitigation you had proposed for the house and the other work was actually more than required.
Correct.
So I would take that to balance out the trees and not worry about doing anything additional for these trees as well. But let's see if anybody else has any thoughts here. Okay, Greg?
Yeah, is there any chance of leaving one of those as a snag? On the,
So-
on the,
I think the contractor's concern is because they're leaning when they excavate for the foundation,
I got
they're
you.
going to fall over.
okay, thank
Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing no additional comments. And since you already understand all of the conditions for removing trees and so on from the previous thing, if we could have a motion to approve the plan change.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Mike?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Greg?
yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
And I am a yes. And
Thank you. Thank you for your
thank
time
you.
this evening.
Next up is notice of intent filed by Richard and Nicole Petrica. Applicant proposes to remove cesspools, install a new septic system, reconstruct the walkways and patios, construction of a pool and pool house, connect to town water and associated site work and landscaping at property located at 20 Bridge Road, map 20, parcel 014. And who is here to speak on this?
Hi.
Oh, sorry. Rick Grady from Grady Consulting. Oh, hi, Nicole.
Hi.
And,
No, I didn't see you there, so I
Yeah.
will let you lead the way. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Yes, Rick Grady from Grady Consulting, the engineers for the project, and homeowner Nicole here on line here. As you had mentioned in the reading of the advertisement here, this is an existing property at number 20 Bridge Road, comprised of 3.36 acres. We have two bordering vegetated wetlands to the rear of the site, which are depicted on the 80 scale on sheet 1, an A series and a B series. Both of those have buffer zones that extend onto the property at 20 Bridge Road. We also have a FEMA flood zone that we're contending with here, FEMA flood zone AE elevation 12, and also the buffer zones associated with that flood zone under the local bylaw. The two structures on the property, the main house shown basically in the center of the property closest to Bridge Road, and then a smaller cottage structure off to the right-hand side of the property a little further from Bridge Road. Septic systems for the property for the main house is cesspools, which we're proposing to pump and fill and remove. There is a system for the cottage, separate system for the cottage. We've submitted to Board of Health and received their approval to connect these systems into one single system. We'll run a pipe by gravity from the cottage over towards the main house. At that point, we'll connect it with the septic or sewage from the main house into a jet treatment system, and then a pump chamber. And then that pump chamber will pump up to a new soil absorption system or leaching area, which will be located beyond 100 foot to the FEMA flood zone. As I had noted, that was approved by the Board of Health previously. Along with this septic system upgrade and combining the systems into the one treatment system, the applicant is also proposing a pool and pool house. We did meet with Alex early on during this process to come up with a amenable location for the proposed pool. We understand that under the local bylaw, we have to maintain at least 50-foot setback to the flood zone, which we've done. It's located approximately 60 feet from the flood zone. Excuse me. The pool house is more along the lines of about 80 feet from the flood zone. We had initially looked at areas for the pool and pool house behind the house. Unfortunately, we had to rule those out because those would have been within the FEMA flood zone or the 50-foot buffer zone to that flood zone. Along with this too, there's also several patio areas and walkways. Currently, they're an older brick patio, brick walkways in a state of disrepair. They would like to rebuild these patios and walkways along with the construction. On sheet 4 of the plan, we had actually provided a impervious area calculation for land within 50 feet of that flood zone. And we're actually reducing impervious coverage from 2,131 square feet to 1,741 square feet. So we have a reduction of impervious coverage with the rebuilding of these walkways and patios. Additionally, there's a large paved looped driveway that accesses both the main house and the cottage. We are proposing to remove all of that pavement. The applicant would like to construct cobble-lined pea-stone driveways in place of the large paved driveway. So we'll have a substantial reduction in impervious coverage with a large portion of that being beyond the 100-foot setback to the flood zone. There is erosion control proposed at the limit of work. We have staked the property, submitted a stakeout sheet to the commission to depict the numbered stakes and what they represent on the ground. Basically, we staked the erosion control, limit of work, proposed pool house, septic system, as well as key points of the new driveways. One additional item, property is currently serviced by a drinking water well. We will be connecting to town water. There's an existing water gate in front of the main house that we'll be connecting to provide town water service to both structures as well. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay, thank you so much. And we were out there this morning for a site visit. I'm going to ask Mike to run through it for us.
Surely. Thanks very much for your detailed explanation and for the number of drawings that you sent us. We were very happy to see those before the site visit. We saw on site the 50-foot flood zone behind the property marked very clearly. On your diagram, there is a 50-foot flood zone, but it's across the street, and we didn't go over there, and that's fine. We also saw clearly where the pool, the new parking area, the pool house, and the septic were marked. And then on the back side of the house, we saw the existing patio. But there were a couple things that we didn't see this morning. The first is that there is a wetlands on the front of the property, and we didn't see that marked either on site or where the 100-foot line for wetlands, either on site or on your diagrams. Number two is that the trees that you plan on removing were not marked, but they are on your plan, and there's so few trees there. We did understand which ones you do intend to leave, but we didn't see any plans for mitigation for large trees. We also wondered if you had considered that any of those were legacy trees. And we already noticed that there was a large tree removed in the past that possibly had been a legacy tree. And then the last thing is that the patio work wasn't marked in the back, and we didn't know if you were going to change the size of the patio, and there was no limit of work marked on the back side of the house where the patio work was going to be done.
The plan does have a very detailed overlay of the new patio over the existing patio. It is in very close proximity to the existing brick patio.
Okay.
You can see some rectangular shapes that they're looking for a style of a kind of a staggered rectangular block patio. And so it is roughly within the limits and within 5 feet of the existing patio. A couple of the other areas where the walkways meander, we didn't stake every corner of the new, more linear fashion patios. However, we do have stakes nearby for, say, point number 504, where it's about 10 feet from the corner of the closest point to the flood zone for the walkway there. As far as the mitigation for the trees, you are correct, we have not proposed that. We would be willing to accept, I think I'm hearing from these previous hearings, a 2-to-1 ratio, so we'd need to come up with 2 trees of your approved plant list to replace the 2 trees that we've marked to be removed here. That would certainly be an acceptable condition of approval, and we'd be glad to provide that. As far as the... I'm sorry?
Legacy trees, last bit, legacy trees.
Yeah, legacy trees. I have to admit that's a phrase that I'm not super familiar with.
Well, let me make sure I'm saying the right thing. Is that
Okay.
the appropriate term? These are trees that are 24 inches across in diameter.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, Mike, you're right, and that is a zoning issue, and so that would be taken up with the town planner. But good to note, yes.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't familiar with that. So the 2 trees that we're proposing to remove here, we do have a 20-inch deciduous tree, which I believe was a beech tree out here. And then we do have one 24-inch tree, kind of the back right corner of the pool enclosure, of the fencing around the pool. So that is something that we'll need to look into as far as that potential zoning issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm going to follow up on some of the things Mike brought up. I do see on the plan, talking about going back to the flood areas and the flood buffer zone, that you do have a flood zone marked over on Dyer Prince Road, but you do not have the 100-foot flood buffer zone marked on your site plan. And you also don't have that from the flood zone on the back of the house, back of the lot either. So some things that would fall within that area, within the flood buffer zone, that right now are not showing that, including possibly the septic leach area, the arborvitae, and some other things. So I would like to see that area, those delineations on an updated site plan.
Okay.
Because it appears that the beach area would fall within that, and it's just something we would need to consider.
I'm scaling 90 feet actually from the approximate flood zone, elevation 13 across the street, and that is from that's just from available online maps across the street there. So we may need to identify where elevation 13 actually is on the ground at that location.
Yeah, I understand. I think this is the first time you've presented before our commission.
That's correct.
Yeah. So we do have that 100-foot flood buffer zone that I think nobody else has. So it sometimes doesn't wind up in people's thoughts when they're drawing plans.
Yeah, we did take that into consideration for the ones on site. The one across the street, we thought it was kind of an approximate flood zone, honestly. But yes, we can get more detail on that and show that more accurately.
Well, Dyer Prince Road floods a lot, so I think you have to consider that if it says there's a flood zone on Dyer Prince, that it will flood. So, and then I did see that you did put a stake in for the 50-foot flood buffer zone in the back of the house, but I don't see that demarcation of the flood buffer on the actual plan. So it was good to see the stake because that really helped clear things up there. Yeah, I do have concerns about the trees and mitigation. I think you did manage to find a spot for the pool that does fit within our regulations. So I think you were helped by having that conversation with Alex beforehand. I don't really, so I do have questions about the arborvitae because some of them do fall in jurisdiction and why that was a choice as opposed to some kind of shrub that would provide more habitat value, as the arborvitae don't have any real habitat value.
Is there a particular shrub that the commission would prefer to see there that may have more habitat value and provide the screening that the applicants are looking to accomplish?
Well, we're usually just looking for something that's native that would provide something for our native wildlife to use, whereas the arborvitae is, I understand why people choose it because it's pretty fast growing, but it gives nothing back. There are native plant lists you could have a look at.
Okay.
And see if something maybe you would like there. Like, and you could certainly argue for the arborvitae, but I think it would be nice if you did something that did provide some habitat value.
Okay. We would like to get to yes on this with the commission, so
Yeah,
so we'll work with you on that.
I think generally you've given us a good plan here. And when this house came up for sale, we were having I had discussions with some people on how somebody would possibly take this on. So I just think it's really interesting to see the plan. I think you've done a pretty good job. I do need to look at where the buffers are again once you put them on the plan, but I don't really have any other questions at this point.
Okay. The ones closest to the house, the lines are on there. We can clean up the labels on them so it's easier to see them.
Are they? This is a very complicated.
There's a lot going on here. I understand that. Yeah. So, but the lines are on there. I don't have anything I can point to for you, but the lines are on there. Probably the easiest thing is to look at the far right of the plan, to the right of the cottage, and we can add additional labels on there, but you can see the 50 and the 100-foot setback just off the property, and then it's a little bit easier to follow the lines onto the property. Probably the most work in there is kind of the pool area, which falls really between the 50-foot and the 100-foot line, so we can label them up a little better, though.
So that actually does remind me that in your project description, you don't really go through the pool regulations at all and discuss how this pool complies with that, other than we can see that you found a site that works. There are a lot more details in the pool regulations in terms of lighting and what kind of filtration system and backwashing and filling the pool and such that you haven't addressed.
Okay.
In here, so it would be good if you might just go, since we are going to have a continuance as well, if you could just go through that for us.
Okay.
That's it for me. Yeah, and tree mitigation. Obviously, I will second that. And then let me see if who else has. I see Chuck waving his hand, so Chuck will go next.
Okay, I would like to clarify that when we talk about arborvitae, we're actually talking about arborvitae and not just some catch-all term for hedges. Is that correct?
The plan says arborvitae.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm asking is that arborvitae is a species of cedar, and its habitat for all kinds of things. The deer eat those things in the winter when they can't eat anything. And it's on the Massachusetts Endangered Species list, and they'd like them to be conserved. So I think the DEP would love to see arborvitae planted there. I'm not sure where the notion that it's not a a viable habitat for wildlife comes from, because it is. The birds nest in it because nothing can get in at them. And like I said, deer eat the silly things, and chipmunks get in there and eat the seeds. I think they're fine.
So the only native arborvitae in Massachusetts is the northern white cedar. Is that what you're talking about? Other species of arborvitae are not native.
Eastern white cedars are.
It's also known as the eastern white cedar.
Right.
But other species of arborvitae are not native to Massachusetts.
All right. Well, then they should be planting eastern white cedar.
Okay. I'm going to call on Nicole and then Janet.
Hi. We are just more familiar with, I'm not actually sure which arborvitae, but we've planted it a lot in the past. I don't know if privet is any better, but I'm happy to take any other things into consideration. I don't know if Alex would be the person to talk to or whoever, but we're open to, we just really wanted to provide privacy.
Yeah.
But
so
we can also plant different plants in the back too to help out as well.
Okay, so I don't think privet is not the way to go.
Okay.
Either. That's generally considered an invasive. But there is a plant list. I think Alex on our website, and Alex can also help facilitate getting that to you.
I did see it where I wasn't totally clear as what would provide privacy, so I definitely could use somebody's help. So thank you.
So, Alex, if you want to, and then we'll go to Janet.
Yeah, but if you saw our list online, and also I'll give a plug to the Association to Preserve Cape Cod. They've got a very comprehensive guide to native Cape Cod plantings that also might be helpful. And
Great. I'll go back and let them again. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Janet.
I know you mentioned the pool regulations that aren't included in the submission, and they will include those. I do have concerns about a pool, especially since we're in a level 2 significant drought and have been for most of 2 years, and have been in extreme drought for part of that time.
Okay. Anything more specific? I think because generally pools get filled and then maybe topped a little. Our regulations do talk about covering the pool and so on to kind of help with that evaporation issue. But pools generally they get filled and they stay filled and they don't get emptied and refill.
That's what I was concerned about.
And the pool regulations do talk about where the water comes from as well. So
okay.
Good to bring it up. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, I'm going to ask if there are any abutters who have questions, concerns, wish to speak. Okay, I see none. So we're looking to continue this project. How much time would you need to address our issues?
Just a day or two.
Okay, so we could continue this to our next meeting, which is July 28th.
That sounds good.
Okay, if we could have a motion to continue to July 28th.
Move to continue to July 28th.
And a second?
Seconded.
Mike?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, we have a notice of intent filed by Daniel and Margaret Milsky. Applicant proposes to remove existing deck and gazebo, construct additions to the north and south sides of dwelling, construct a farmer's porch, a new deck and patio, replace existing septic system, remove beach access stairs and construct new beach access stairs and connect them to existing path, remove existing planting beds and plant native trees, remove existing lawn, and mitigation at property located at 30 Cedar Lane, map 21, parcel 058. And the applicants have asked to continue this to July 28th. So if we might have a motion for that. Somebody?
Move to continue to July 28th.
And a second, please.
Second.
Okay, Joanne?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Cinnamon? You're muted.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay. Next up, we have a continuation of notice of intent filed by Richard and Nancy Hayes. Applicant proposes to temporarily move the south portion of the building and shed and demolish the north portion of the building at property located at 153 Brownell Road, map 23, parcel 001. And then we have another filing just under that. We made this determination that since the second filing, which was a supplement, was so different that it required new abutters notices, that we would treat them a little bit as if they were separate filings and just ask the applicant to withdraw the continued notice of intent so we can focus on the subsequent one, if that would be okay with the applicant. Just to clean things up a little bit, make things a little less confusing. So I will ask if that's okay, and if you would just make a motion to just request to withdraw.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Jason Ellis representing Richard and Nancy Hayes. Yeah. So what you're saying is, you basically have two notice of intents here, but we've only filed for one. So you just want to kind of eliminate the one for the temporary move and then move on to the second one. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that seemed to make most sense because you filed the temporary one and then filed supplements to that had to have second abutters notices, and we did another separate legal notice for that, and it just got a little confusing.
Okay.
So we just thought this might be a way to clean it up. And,
okay.
Alex, you had your hand up, and then Chip.
Yeah, I was just mentioning, since we did send out, we had two separate legal ads, and so there's two agenda items for this notice of intent, and so correct me if I'm wrong, Karen. We're eliminating this first one, proceeding with the second one.
Yeah, that is okay with the applicant. It just got a little confusing.
Yeah, I think we're okay with that. Chip might have a comment on that, but I think he's also on the line here. So,
through the chair, Chip Nyland representing the applicant. Yeah, that's fine. You can't have actually two in front of the commission at the same time. So we will formally withdraw. If you need me to follow that up with the letter, but I can certainly withdraw that this evening so that we'll only go forward with the second one.
Okay, so let's do that. And if you think that we need to have a formal letter for that, we'll take that too. Okay, so I would ask the commission for a motion to accept the withdrawal of the continuation of notice of intent filed by Richard and Nancy Hayes for 153 Brownell.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Seconded.
Okay, Joanne,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And just before we go on, I will mention that anybody who missed one of the hearings on this matter they have filed a Mullen letter and done what they needed to correct. I believe that's only Chuck Wagner. So the entire commission will be sitting on the next matter. just to eliminate the rest of any possible confusion there. And I'm going to open the next one is a notice of intent filed by Richard C. Hayes. Applicant proposes to temporarily move south portion of building and shed and placed on cribbing and then placed permanently on helical piles. And the north portion of the building has been demolished and removed at property located at 153 Brownell Road, map 23, parcel 001. Okay. And now I think we're at a good point. So I guess, Jason, if you'd like to present.
Hey, sure. So for the record again, Jason Ellis representing the Cliff House LLC, Richard and Nancy Hayes. I think you guys might have gone out to the site today. As you know, the northern portion of the existing house was demolished and removed from the site. The southern portion of the house was moved landward, was moved westward up against that westerly lot line. It remains there today on cribbing, so it's in that location. All of the foundation and the concrete and whatnot has all been removed out of the cellar hole. The cellar hole has been filled in with clean sand and graded flat. That area will be still has to be covered with topsoil and with grass seed to prevent any erosion. There is kind of a slight pitch backwards from the slope from the top of the bank back into the property, so there shouldn't be a lot of runoff from the flat portion of the property eastward towards the bank. So it should remain pretty stable there, and but we do still have an actively eroding bank that we have to contend with. So what we're looking to do is leave the existing building where it is on the cribbing, installing some helical piles underneath the foundation. So the helical piles, we've done a lot of helical piles on staircases that go down to the beach and that kind of thing. It's basically a big screw that goes into the ground. It goes in with hydraulic equipment, basically a mini excavator with an attachment on it. It's probably the least invasive way to put a stable foundation under the structure. If you were to put this on concrete piles, you'd be doing some significant excavation, likely doing a contiguous footing with pilings coming out of it, which would create a lot of disturbance, disturbing that virgin soil that's underneath that building at this point. So the helical will be, I think, the best option in terms of putting a foundation under here, which would create the least amount of disturbance, and it'll also be very easily removable once the structure has to be removed entirely from the site when the erosion gets worse. I did have some conversations with Susan Barker at the health department, and she would like us to convert the septic system into basically leave the septic tank as a tight tank and remove the leach field and the distribution box from the site as part of this if this were to move forward. So the septic tank would become a sealed tank and would be pumped as it fills up. So it would have an alarm system that would be installed in it, and it'd be pumped out depending upon how quickly the tank fills up from the usage inside the building. That would eliminate a lot of the any more disturbance. The Board of Health would require some kind of IA treatment on the system if it were to remain with the building being in a new location. So the tight tank's the easy option, and again, it's an easy removal method to get rid of the tank once the erosion gets to the point where we need to remove that tank as well. That's pretty much it. I'll leave it to you guys if you have any questions from here on out, and we can kind of go from there. If that sounds good.
Thank you. So we were out at the site this morning, and it appears that the house and the shed are not in the locations approved for the emergency order. So that might need to be corrected before the emergency order expires in a couple of days.
Yeah, I'll have to. I haven't verified the actual location out there yet, so I would have to verify that. But in terms of the location, and we would have to do a significant amount of work to move it if we have to move it a couple of feet this way or that way. So I'm not sure that moving it's going to gain you a lot from where it is right there. So.
Well, the shed definitely is not in the location that was proposed.
Okay. Yeah, the shed.
And that the house itself is close, but not where it was proposed.
Yeah, I think the house is maybe about 5 to 6 feet north of where it shows on that plan. So I think they moved it more, instead of diagonally, they moved it back, kind of straight back more. And that probably just had to deal with the site conditions and the concern of the bank giving way. So I think there was some, with the equipment and the I-beams and all the rollers and everything else that was going on, I think they felt it was a little safer to just move it straight back rather than diagonally back. So I think that's the concern that they had, that the contractor had. But the shed would be easy to move, so we can move that. So.
Okay, and then we did notice that the heavy equipment had driven back and forth over the septic and leach area quite a few times, it appears, and it was supposed to stay away from that area. So
okay,
there was concern about that.
Yeah, the leach field will have to come out as well anyhow, so that the Board of Health is going to require the leach field to be removed as part of this. So that's that's something that's going to have to get disturbed at some point anyhow. So
okay, so that begs the question of there are other boards and permits that will need to be applied for and received for this project to go forward, all of which, if there are any plan changes, would have to come back to the commission for us to approve. So if you're taking the septic system and changing that, I would like to know when you are filing with the other boards, because right now you have a house sitting in the zoning setbacks, and you have the septic system, which you're telling us is going to get a big change.
Yeah, I was just I had just had the conversation with Susan about 2 weeks ago about the septic system. So that's kind of a new development with that. So we would be going before the Board of Health the last Thursday in August is the next hearing agenda that we can get on for them. So whatever that date is for the last Thursday in August. And then I believe we're going to whatever that zoning board of appeals. We still have to file with the zoning board of appeals for the variance to put the structure where it's located. And I believe that would be the September hearing date, which I don't know the date of that, but I think the filing deadline is August 3rd for that meeting. So
it's usually the third Wednesday.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we understand that if there's any deviations from what you folks approve, that we would need to come back for an amended order. If there's any major changes, major plan changes, but I mean, this the septic system would have to come out at some point anyhow. So we're just going to be removing the leach field and earlier than we expected. That's all. So at some point, that's removed anyhow.
Right. So that all would have to get permitted by us.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's somewhat helpful to be able to do that all at once instead of back and forth. And I do know that this location has been the plan since early February. So it's noting that it's been 5 months where this hasn't been filed. So I was wondering about the site plan and whether we needed to have an updated site plan now that the house has been moved and the edge of the coastal bank. Are we sure it's still in the same location?
We can certainly
May.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. So, I mean, it sounds like you're going to likely continue. It sounds like you're likely going to continue this because of the consultant situation as well, but.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm heading next.
Okay.
Here. So the commission previously has voted that we would, and we did inform that we would like a consultant to look at the project, and we have prepared a scope of work and request for an RFQ. So part of our plan tonight is for the commission to vote on that, and then I was thinking that it made sense to not really get into a discussion on the project until the point where we have that report from the consultant. And so so that was kind of where I am at this point. So the commission will be voting on the RFQ as part of this procedure, and I think that's kind of where we are now. Unless I see Chip, your hand is up, I will give you some chance to respond here, and then.
Yeah, just quickly, and I'm not sure, I haven't been in front of this commission, so I don't know how often you do peer reviews, but I'm involved in them quite often. And what I suggested in my correspondence with Adam was that generally what the commission will do, a peer review is supposed to help the commission on items that you're not comfortable with, that may involve some degree of an expert or something that you're not familiar with. I know that this commission is familiar with moving houses, and I know you're familiar with coastal banks. So all I suggest is that we should have a discussion with respect to what we're seeking to do, and that would then shape what your peer review consultant would look at. That is something that what you're looking for assistance. Again, I don't know. I'd asked a couple of times what your scope was going to be, because I don't know what it is that we can't tell you that somebody else can. We know that a coastal bank is a land form, so we know we're in the buffer zone. So I know that the issue of whether it's where the coastal bank is shouldn't be a question. We're clearly in the buffer zone, and I'm sure that you must have done work with helicals and know how superior they are to excavation into foundation. So I'm just not sure what it is the peer reviewer will be looking at, and why we couldn't go forward and have the discussion at the next meeting as to what we're presenting, and then the commission would have an idea of where you want some help, if anything. That's the only thing that I wanted to raise is, again, I don't know how often you do peer reviews, and I don't know how you handle those, but in all other instances, the peer review comes after the notice of intent has been reviewed by the commission, so they can then tell the peer reviewer what they're interested in finding answers to.
Okay, I'm going to ask Alex, did you share the draft scope with the applicant?
No, I don't think I've shared it with the applicant.
Okay. Does it make sense?
I did request it, but it wasn't provided.
Oh. Was that Alex? Did you get a request?
If I did, and I missed it, I apologize. it is certainly a document we can share.
So I do note that back in February, when the first emergency certification request came in, we did speak to the need to have a coastal geologist look at the site. That we brought that up again, I believe, in the May in the second emergency request in March, and again, I know it was discussed in the May 26th meeting when we reconsidered the emergency certification. We did at our last meeting vote to approve having a consultant for this matter, having received the notice of intent and then a late revision of that.
Yeah, I certainly don't have any quarrel with having a peer reviewer. No, my question was just the timing, Madam Chair. That is that you're just going to open something, a wide open, here's the notice of intent, come talk to me about it, or are there specific questions that the commission has for the peer reviewer? That's what I'm asking. Again, I haven't seen what the scope is. Maybe if you open up the scope, maybe then it's no longer hypothetical. If we can participate during that discussion, then we'll get away from the abstract. Because you said you're going to discuss it. You're going to discuss that with the commission, right? So you're going to talk about what the scope is. I would imagine that will happen next.
Right. We've already described roughly what the scope was at our last meeting, and this is now in a draft in some detail. Alex, maybe we should put it up on the.
We could probably screen share it.
Yeah. Do you want to do that, or do you want me to do that, or?
If you have the ability to do it, Karen, I think that would be good.
Okay. Let's see. Just give me a second. It's here somewhere. Here we go. Okay. All right. I will share that. Oh. Sorry, I just got noticed that Greg must have popped out and the Acrobat.
I'm back. I just got cut off.
Oh, okay. I was, kind of noticing that. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. Is that large enough? Is that too big?
No, that's perfect.
Okay. Maybe somebody can just tell me when to scroll. So everybody can have a read through, and then we'll come back area by area.
Yeah, 1 and 2 seem very appropriate in terms of, I'm not sure about land subject to coastal storm flow, which is at the top of the bank, but otherwise, yes, we're clearly looking at coastal bank. We're in the buffer zone, but we know that the performance standards for coastal bank buffer zone are the same as for coastal bank. I mean, we're concerned, the commission's concerned, we're all concerned to make sure that nothing we do disturbs the stability of that coastal bank.
Okay, I can scroll.
I'm sorry, what's the, Jason, what's the flood zone elevation? I thought we were above the flood zone. Is that something you're just looking to verify, Madam Chair?
I think we're looking to verify everything. But yeah, yes, the flood zone and storm surge affects the property.
Yeah, we're at about elevation 70 where the structure is, and the flood zone elevation is likely, I'd have to double check, but it's likely around elevation 18 or 20. So we're probably close to 50 feet above any flood or surge elevation on the site. So that wouldn't have, the flood zone really wouldn't have any effect of where the structure is going to be relocated to or whatnot. So.
Oh, well, I think we'll have that discussion at some point, whether the flood zone affects this or not. I think you might find that there's a lot of beg to differ in there. I'm going to scroll up.
Yeah, I guess that this is what I want to get to, which is the issue is what's the impact of our project upon the resource area? It's not the impact of the coastal flood upon the project if it's 50 feet above the flood stage. I just want to make sure that we're looking at, if we're going to be paying for this, so I want to just make sure that we're looking at issues that relate to the performance standard for the resource areas that we're at. We're not in any resource area, this is only a buffer zone project. And what you're looking for is relocating it out of coastal resource areas. It's out of a coastal resource area. It's in the buffer zone. So, and there's no alternatives analysis that's required under the bylaw or under the Wetlands Act for moving this house to where it's been moved. I think it should be a pretty strict question of what's the impact of putting this structure in the buffer zone on these helical piles to the stability of that coastal bank.
Right, and you're saying to us that the flood zone has no impact on this project?
Well,
or you're proposing that the flood zone has no impact and land subject to coastal storm flowage has no impact on this particular site?
You've been doing this as long as I have. The floodplain is at a certain, it's by elevation. The question is, how does that project impact the floodplain? When you're dealing with the floodplain, if it's land subject to coastal storm flowage, there is no flood that's hitting the house that we're detracting or sending other places. When you're regulating work in land subject to coastal storm flowage, you want to make sure that you're not deflecting any of the waves at that elevation elsewhere. If we're 50 feet above, then we're not going to impact that resource area. But again, the question's not how the resource area affects the house, it's how the house affects the resource area.
Mm-hmm. And then how the house affects, right, the resource area affects the geomorphology, which then affects the house, which then affects the resource area.
Well, then,
So it all relates as far as I am concerned here. And we need to look at it.
Well, then, with all due respect, does that mean that you look at the impact of floodplain on every house in the community, regardless of how far away it is from the floodplain?
This is within the 100-foot buffer zone to the flood zone, which is certainly within our jurisdiction under the bylaw.
It's within 100 feet vertically, not laterally. It's not laterally within 100 feet. We're 50 feet above.
Horizontally,
If you're telling me that you exercise jurisdiction vertically and not laterally of that buffer zone, I did not read it that way. That means you take jurisdiction over most of the houses on the shoreline in Eastham, even if they're 100 feet away.
That's what the bylaw says.
Well, then I would like to know what other properties that you've looked at that are 50 feet above the floodplain to look at what their impact is of the floodplain on that house. I think that'd be helpful for us to understand that. And again, I apologize. I haven't been in front of this commission, but this is the first time I've ever heard of a commission taking that kind of jurisdiction.
Well, it's certainly within the bylaw.
Well, I want to make sure that we're not the first house that you're looking at this way. That's what I'm asking the question. How have you looked at other houses 50 feet above the floodplain?
We're looking at this house because the floodplain and the flooding impacts the stability of the bank, which impacts the location of the house, which impacts the stability of the coastal bank.
But that takes place regardless of whether that structure is there. That's an impact on the eroding bank, correct?
And the erosion rate and the eroding bank impact this project significantly. So it is something that we do have the ability to look at and should be looking at.
Well, I don't know how one is able to measure. I'm a lawyer, not an engineer, but I don't know how one, and the other commission members can help me out here. How does one measure the impact of the land subject to coastal storm flowage that is 50 feet lower than where the coastal bank, top of the coastal bank is, and we're 40 feet away from the top of the coastal bank? How does our structure alter that resource area? I don't know how you're going to ask somebody to measure that. Again, you have a very, I'm not quarreling with bringing in an expert. I do it, and I welcome it when it helps you identify, legitimate questions of impacts to resource area rather than, I'm not sure what you're getting at here in terms of how this house and those helical anchors are going to affect the coastal bank. That's clearly within your view, and we're prepared to talk about that, but not in terms of land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Well, I think we are. So, not getting deeply into your filing at this point, because I would also appreciate having some professional expertise look at it. But the helical columns, which you have not detailed in any way in the filing, certainly impacts the bank, and then over time, as it erodes, would further impact the resource area. And I think we have to look at the feasibility of the site in its entirety here, in terms of evaluating whether this structure should exist in this location.
Yeah, I know. I haven't contested that. I mean, that's
Well,
the question.
But you're leaving significant areas out of, or wanting to argue that we should be looking at those impacts and those events, which actually have led us to this position where the house had to be moved back in an emergency fashion. So that does impact our decision on whether the house should be permitted at the location you're proposing.
Right, but for instance, the coastal processes, the long-term erosion rates, those relate to the bank and not to the house. Sea level rise by, the worst projection is 6 feet by 2070. And I've heard that we're 50 feet above. So I mean, what I don't want to do is just have an exercise where we're paying somebody to look at things that don't have any relationship to the jurisdiction of the commission. That's all.
Well, I think the stability of the bank is certainly under the jurisdiction of the commission. And the longevity of the house at this location and the house impact on resource areas is not just at the moment that you insert the helical columns, but the short number of years of its expected lifespan there. And then the aftermath of that is of relevance here. And this looks at those areas.
Yeah, I would say without question, if that bank continues to recede for reasons that don't have anything to do with us, but they just recede at some point, that house is going to have to be removed. And to the extent that somebody is looking to have a bond or something, that is placed, so it makes sure that that house will be removed and is not going to, tumble down and harm the coastal bank. I mean, clear, that's certainly a standard that it's either moved, off-site or away or removed. Yeah, that's clearly within your jurisdiction. I'm not fighting over that. I'm not at all. It's everything else. It's the Christmas tree, all these other goodies that are on the Christmas tree that I don't think relate to the question of the impact of this project on the bank.
Well, I think we're having a difference of opinion here, for sure.
Are we through the end of are there any other tasks after 5?
Yeah. You saw all 5, so we'll move it up 6.
Okay, so 6 looks appropriate. Construction methodology, that would be something that would, having to do, that's clearly within your jurisdiction. I see that. Erosion control, temporary stabilization, each of those, that makes sense.
Okay, you ready for 7?
Sure. Lines of fact, construction. In terms of the deliverable, the Tech 8 and the deliverables, what says draft and order of conditions, I'm assuming that's something that takes place after we have all of the, after we have the meetings, correct? You're not looking for that up front, correct?
I think available to do a draft, but having, I think,
if I may, Karen, at least the ability
Yes,
to
please.
at least have the ability to consult while we're going through, drafting the order of conditions. And so, yes, Attorney Nyland, I would assume this would happen after the hearings.
Yeah. That's why I say peer review that's why I said it usually happens after you've had a meeting and then you figure out exactly where you need some help here, what's important to you and how it will help the commission and helps everyone get through the process to make findings of fact and find the conditions to that would allow the project to go forward. So those pieces look appropriate.
sorry, I've got extra little window here.
I think you're looking for a coastal engineer. I think that looks appropriate.
There's a little more still after this.
Yeah, I mean, your coastal geologist is the one who has that. I mean, your wetland here is the coastal bank, correct?
Yeah.
So, I assume that wetland scientist could be your coastal geologist as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jason, I'm going to have to defer to you in terms of the structural engineer for helicals. I think that if somebody that you'd be looking for somebody that has experience with helicals, because this is not a structural foundation. This is helical. This is something entirely different. So you want to make sure that they have experience with helicals as
Correct.
opposed to foundations.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, the helicals. My understanding with helicals is that it's about when they install them, they have to be installed with a certain amount of torque, and there's actually a torque meter on the equipment that actually registers the amount of pressure that the helical is enduring as it's being installed, and that's how it's determined that it's being at the right location and the right distance down into the ground is based on that torque. So
Right. But also the de-installation of them in the future and the impact on the bank.
Yeah, you hear no quarrel from me at all in terms of that. Again, it's the other areas, the alternatives analysis, those other pieces that don't relate to what the performance standards are. That was my concern, the earlier ones, not these later ones. The other thing is I had asked who you were speaking to because I know a number of coastal geologists and I was going to reach out to one myself, but I don't want to create a conflict here. So and at some point, if you can just tell me who you're sending these out to, that'd be helpful.
Alex?
Yeah, we'll certainly share that with you, Attorney Nyland. We haven't finalized that list on our end, but when we do, we'll certainly communicate that to you.
Perfect. I appreciate the courtesy. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it appears that I'm trying to be difficult. I'm really not. I'm just trying to make the scope something that will get us to where the commission needs to get, which is comfortable with what we're doing out here. That as opposed to going off on other areas, issues that I don't believe relate to jurisdiction.
Okay, and that's a difference of opinion here. So
that's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
Right. So do we need to leave this up further?
No, listen, I'm all set. You do long nights, so I'm not looking to take more of your time. I just want to walk through that since I hadn't been able to see it. So I appreciate you giving me that courtesy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I will ask the commission if they want to weigh in on any of this as well. Chuck? You're muted.
How does this thing keep muting me? I haven't touched it.
I won't make the obvious joke.
Okay, well, anyway, on one point, I agree with him. I don't think that this is a house that's in the 50 and 100-foot buffer zone, and that's what we need to consider. And trying to claim that there's some impact from land subject to coastal flooding on this project is specious. That's the end of my thought.
Okay. Anybody else on the commission have any thoughts? Here, anybody? Mike?
Yeah, I think you don't know what you don't know. I hear Attorney Nyland trying to limit the scope of work, and I understand your point, Counselor, but I would find that evaluation helpful to me at making a final determination. The entire document that we just went through, which I've seen before.
Anybody else? Joanne?
I generally agree with what has been said. I'm not sure if we addressed, are we going to vote on this now, or are we going to hold as suggested to wait for further updates on the NOI?
Well, they should have given us, I think, everything they wanted us to consider for the project with this filing. So they have not identified except for the septic system and then whatever the ZBA or planning board said as any changes that they are looking to submit here. And I would like to wait to have any comments or anything until after the review. So I don't know how you feel about that. My thought was that we would vote on this tonight so that we could put out the RFQ and get things moving.
Yeah, I have no objection to that. Just wanted to be clear on what we were voting on.
Okay, and then so the process would be for us to vote on this and then submit it to the required number of consultants for the state procurement requirements, and then get responses. And then I was going to suggest that we have options of having the whole commission review what comes in, or that the commission could vote to have Hillary, Alex, and I review the submissions and approve one. And then that would then get shared with the applicant who could review it. And then they have the options of appealing the choice to the select board for conflict of interest or not meeting qualifications. And then they have the option of providing the fee to go into the consultant escrow account, and we commission the work, and then regroup, continue this hearing until such time as the consultant is finished, and we meet again to discuss the results and go over the NOI. Alex?
Yeah, just to clarify, I believe we plan to send this RFQ out to three,
I thought it was
folks.
4.
Is it 4? I think there's potentially 4 on the list. I think we're obligated to send it to 3, and so, so it'll be at least 3.
Okay. So what all would you like to do? Would you like to go ahead with this? In which case I would propose the motion language on the RFQ and the scope of work, that we approve the RFQ scope of work as drafted, that we would require staff to submit it to at least 3 consulting firms as required under the state procurement regulations, and that once we receive responses, that the commission would authorize Alex, Hillary, and I to review and select one, and then follow through with the applicant as needed. And that we would continue, I guess this would be a separate motion to continue the hearing until such time as the work would be done, which I would expect we would set a deadline, or at least a rough deadline for that.
Okay.
We're quiet here. Does somebody wish to make such a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Janet,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And then we would need to continue the hearing. Chip?
Just two quick things. First of all, our intention will be to revise the plan. We'll give you a site plan that shows where the house is, and I think we also want to include what's going on with the septic. So we want to, we do want to revise that so that whoever the peer reviewer is, we want to make sure they have the right one. And it sounds like we have enough time to do that. So we'll submit that so that the peer reviewer is looking at the plan that we're looking for. And number two, if we continue, let's please continue to a date certain so that we don't have to advertise. So, you know, however long you think it's going to take, it certainly won't be the next meeting, but I think it will be a meeting in August. So I would just ask that when you continue it, it's to a date certain.
I was thinking it would be more likely a meeting in September. It's the time of year when things don't get done particularly quickly.
Well,
Here,
do you meet twice in August? How often? How many times do you meet in August?
we meet twice every month except December.
Okay, some people do in August. Well,
We're too busy for that.
well, because we can always continue. Can you just continue till the second meeting in August, and that will give us, because we have other applications that we need to be making as well. So
Right. So I had been planning to suggest the first meeting in September, but the second meeting in August, which is August 26th, would be perfectly fine to check in and regroup.
and my last question is, what's your schedule for when do you think that you'll be making the decision on the peer reviewer? Is that will have to be at a public meeting, right? Would that be, you'll let us know when you're ready to do that? Because that would be, obviously, that'd be separate issue than the notice of intent. It would, so.
Does that need to be in a public meeting?
Well,
The review of the
if you're voting, if you're going to vote to.
well, the commission just voted to allow Alex, Hillary, and I to make the decision on the peer reviewers.
On reviewing and making a recommendation. That's all I understand. He just said so moved, so I didn't. I'm not sure. I didn't understand that you were they authorized you to enter into a contract with them. I thought they were coming back to the board for a selection. Is that not? Did I misunderstand?
That wasn't what we voted.
Okay.
Is that an issue for you?
Well, I didn't. I mean, all you said was so moved. So there wasn't a move to author. I didn't understand that they were authorized you to enter into the contract. I thought you were putting the scope together and you were going to come back and recommend who the.
No, the language I laid out for the motion that they so moved included the authorization for Alex, Hillary, and I to review the submissions we get and make a decision.
Okay. Well, what was moved, so you, at some point when you will come back and tell the board what you have decided, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. And if that's before,
And we will tell you what has been decided.
correct. So if that's gonna be before the end of August, then I would say we should be meeting once that decision has been made. That was my point. I thought there was gonna be a longer period of time, but there may not be.
Right. Right. I'm not completely clear on how long the RFQ would be out for. Alex?
Yeah, good question. I don't have a definitive answer for that either. And so, yeah, so I guess we're still unclear as to what the timeline looks like for the RFQ, which is why we were, pushing for the September date, just to make sure that we have enough time to
But
get it out.
but I think that now we've approved the RFQ, that it should go out soon. It's just how many days to allow a response.
Correct.
Well, let's keep that second meeting in August then.
Okay, so we have to have a vote on that as well. Double checking the date there. Second meeting in August is August 25th. So it sounds like otherwise except for continuing the meeting, we're done for the night. Okay, so if we could have a motion to continue this to August 25th, 2026.
Move to continue to August 26, 2026.
25, August 25th, 2026.
Oh, 25, sorry. August 25, 2026.
Yeah.
Seconded.
Okay, too many of the same numbers in there. Okay.
Well,
Chuck?
thank you for your time, and if Alex
Then,
could send.
we're voting, and then
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you'd voted. I'm sorry.
Chuck, we just motioned. Chuck?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And now, Chip, the floor is yours.
If just Alex could send me a copy of that scope, that would be appreciated.
Yep, I could do that.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. If nobody objects, I'd like to just take a 5-minute break. Okay, it is 8:22, so let's just say we'll be back at 8:28. Next up is a continuation of notice of intent filed by 15 Bayberry Lane LLC. Applicant proposes to reconstruct the stone revetment, relocate the beach stairway, and restore plantings at property located at 15 Bayberry Lane, map 13, parcel 150A. Hi, Bob.
Hi, good evening. I know it's been a long one for you, so I'm going to try to be brief, but I just recap. I know Laura Kelly is probably
If you could just identify yourself for the
Oh,
record.
so sorry. I am Bob
Thank
Perry, Cape Cod Engineering, representing the applicant. I believe that Laura Kelly is on the Zoom call, as is Karen Johnson, the owner, trustee. So it was a couple of weeks ago we were here, and I think the revetment portion of this project and the stairway change was well discussed, and I think we probably settled the issues there. And then we turned our attention to the vegetative alterations in the buffer zone to the coastal bank. And there was a lot of good discussion about it and some ideas that were submitted and discussed. So the applicant and her crew went away and discussed options. And what we've come back with is a detail for how the work would be carried out. No real significant changes, but I went back there with Miss Kelly and the owner and looked at access options, and the most practical access is to come in the driveway. And there's an area there that's got some vine honeysuckle that could be removed when that access occurs. And the route doesn't disturb any vegetation of any consequence, just some previously planted Virginia rose and beach grass that can be readily replaced. Since the stairway is being modified, you go right through the upper end of the stairway, and then you're into this area. Now, if you need, I can share my screen to show you the landscape plan. Is that of interest to you? Because
I think, yeah, that might be helpful.
well, let me try that. If I put that up, I have to
Okay.
be careful what I'm doing here. with the
Wayne made
share.
you a co-host, so you should be able to share.
Yeah. I don't think I have the option of sharing yet.
Oh, you should try again.
Okay. Can you see that?
No.
Okay. I'm not that good at this. Sorry. But when I see the window to share the screen, it's not allowing me to do it. Just 1 second, it something might be changing. And you have the same plan that I have.
Yeah, I can put it up if you're
It's not
struggling.
working for me, apparently.
Okay, let me launch it and share it.
Yeah, it's the latest plan.
15 days.
There you are.
Oh, you got it? I didn't share it.
Well, okay.
I'm working on share. I'm working on sharing it.
I'm going to go back to Zoom school.
Okay. So yeah, you have to make sure it's open on your computer.
Right, and it is, but then when it's open, I can't find the Zoom. I can't find you.
Okay, so you make sure it's open on your computer, then you come back to the Zoom screen, and then you click on share. And you should see all of the windows of things you have open. And
Yeah,
then you
well-
click on the one you wanted to share.
Right, I've got 2 PDFs open that are minimized, and then I'm just not having any luck with this. So
Okay, so
I don't want to belabor it. Let's see, 1 participant can share at a time.
okay, I just
Can you see that?
shared. Unless
Nice
you want me
going.
to.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
So
the
you want the landscaping?
yes, that's the redevelopment. You had the first one was
okay.
right. That's the one.
Okay.
So we submitted a summary that breaks down a combination of
I'm going to see if I
flush
can just make that a little bigger.
flush cutting within 5 feet to the crest of the coastal bank, and then the proposed program for root removal and replanting going back toward the deck, rather than go in there twice and cause that kind of disruption over a couple of years, just leaving that strip to be pruned down at the boundary of the crest of the bank with a work limit that would be a straw wattle staked in place or a narrow diameter core roll setup. Then you just do this work and you come and go through the driveway and you completely leave that thicket alone that's to the south of the house. And just to improve the drainage a little bit, there's a little bit of a pitch to the ground there. There's a 2 foot by 8 inch deep riverstone bed that runs along the edge of the perimeter of the deck. The planting did not change. It's the same combination of rose and bearberry. And then it's the added item is to restore the root access where you come and go from the driveway. So in tossing around the options, it was the least impactive and least objectionable operation that we could come up with. And to guide the workers and to, you can reference this in your order of conditions. There's a protocol to be followed that I think was, we had about, I want to say 9 different points to outline how the work would be done. So I think that there was a little bit of hesitancy because some details were lacking. And so I think this provides a significant level of detail to help you understand how the work will be done and where it will be done. My own opinion is it's a couple of days, probably 1 day to get it ready to plant, and then probably the rest of a week to do the planting. Because once you've brought that little machine in and you've got those roots out, which I took a stock, it's about 11 or 13 scrubs and perhaps about the same number of bush honeysuckle. And there's going to be the need to do the handwork planting, handwork pruning, and then a handwork follow-up during certainly the term after the work is done through the term of the order. And I think beyond that, just to monitor the area so that any roots that are of invasive sort are caught and pulled. And I think with that type of effort, this will come out quite well. There are 3 small cedars. They're not shown on here, but we've got them in the pictures, and they're all intended to stay until Mother Nature does them in. One of them isn't so bad, but the other 2 are kind of rough, but there's no interest in removing those if you prefer that they stay. So that is the summary of what we've done. I don't know if Laura is here or not. She might be, but I've gone over this in depth with her. I've been involved in a lot of vegetative alterations and restorative work for my own projects. So if she's not here, I can try to answer your questions about it. Just want to touch on the sediment.
I did see Laura is on the call.
Oh, good. I don't see all the names. So just to touch on one thing down at the bottom, we calculated 130 cubic yards of sediment, and that was based on CZM traces. And after we finished that, I'm just trying to always justify our choices. So I looked at the project that we'll be discussing next at 11 Bayberry, and there's 52 yards that were derived for that short 75-foot segment of bank. So I did a quick proportion, and the length of that lot is approximately 40% of the length of ours. And coincidentally, I'd like to say brilliantly, but it's coincidentally, the 130 cubic yards that I calculated for this site at 15 Bayberry, the 52 is about 40% of that. So since the coastal banks are very, very similar, that coincidentally worked out. So we just wanted to mention that the write-up in the notice of intent is for 130 cubic yards of sediment each year. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Laura, and thank you for listening.
Okay, Laura, do you need me to leave that up, or can I stop sharing and we can see everybody?
Well, I feel like Bob has done. So good evening. Hi, I'm Laura Kelly from Littlefield Landscapes here in Northeastham. Karen has hired me to do the actual installation of the project. And so you've got the details in writing in front of you. Would you like to go over the 9 steps, or I'm open for questions.
Well, I think I don't need to go over the 9 steps. I think they were fairly clear. I have a question more than anything else, and of the shrubbery that is going to remain, that you're going to continue to prune, how are you attacking the pruning here? Is there a way to prune this regeneratively so that the plants get stronger and put out new growth, or is it forever kind of stuck in its mode because of the way it was previously pruned?
I'm hoping the commission allows me to cut down, I don't want to say the base, but down really low in order for it to want to regrow and keep its roots to be stronger on that coastal embankment area. There's a 5-foot width long all the way across the coastal embankment of the roots I want to leave, in which case I want to figure out how to stimulate that growth to be happy over time. And so I would like the opportunity to cut it down so it can regrow. I will be watering the area, keeping my eyes on things, obviously, in hopes that they survive. We need that root system there. So that's my game plan at the moment, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, can you just remind us what kind of shrubs are there, and is this something that is prone to regenerating if you do cut it down?
Yes, there are no evergreens except the 3 tall trees that are really
those
4-inch cambium, and like this much tuft on the top, and we're gonna leave those in hopes they stay. But if we take everything out around them, we're gonna do our best.
Right, but of the
that in mind as we're working around them and do as much as I can with our hands, when it comes to getting close to things.
But that wasn't the question. The question
what is
was
there?
What is there? Is it typically a kind of shrub that will regenerate if you do cut it down?
If it's not an evergreen, it's deciduous, it will regrow. So the answer is yes, they're all deciduous and they will regrow upon pruning.
Okay.
If they're healthy. I mean, if they're not, that's another world of, I've done the best I can. And
they mostly seem to be trying to put out some greenery now, so that perhaps is an indication that they want to survive. So yeah, okay, that was.
But if you cut something down, right, and it's woody, it wants to photosynthesize, it's not going to have the vegetation to do that. There's this moment of we're doing the best we can with the knowledge we have at this time. Mother Nature's.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So
generally the stuff you want to grow back will go, maybe not. And the stuff you don't want to come back will come back bushy and large. And it's like, yeah.
I'm in it for the roots. I'm going to do my hardest.
But in order for the roots to stay vital and do their function, it really does need to have growth on top. Otherwise, they'll tend to decay and stop serving their stability function over time. So
my greatest educated guess of being a landscape designer since 1992 is it's going to be fine. Yep, that's going to be fine. There, the honeysuckle bushes that are so invasive and love it there, they're going to be like, oh, thank you for taking that load off of me. I'm going to double up my root systems now, or whatever they're thinking.
Honeysuckle's hard to chase away anyway. So
mostly that on the coastal embankment.
Okay. So that was my basic question there. Okay. And just to respond a little to what Bob said, yes, at the last meeting we had come to terms on the revetment, and I also do want to thank you for picking that access route over the previous one, because I think that's really a much better choice. And having said that, I'm going to ask the commission who has questions. I saw Mike just unmuted, so and there's your hand. Go ahead.
Laura and Bob, thank you for redoing this diagram. This is much more accurate, and I'm glad you moved the excess route. I think that's more appropriate for this. I'm still confused, though. And I wish you had put the cedars on this diagram. And the reason is, Laura, you just talked about, again, when we met you at the site and just today, right now, you've talked about going down to the cedars and you're worried they're not going to make it. But my remembrance is that the cedars are not at grade. They're a couple feet below the top of the coastal bank. So again, it's a question I have as to how far onto the coastal bank and if you're planning on going down the coastal bank, which is not what this diagram shows, but the cedars, to my remembrance, are down the bank. The base of the cedars are down the bank.
I think I can address that. I have a number of pictures, and I think it's just so thick. There was a good topographic effort made there, but there was just so much vegetation. Nobody located anything specific on the vegetated side. We have pictures from the crest of the coastal bank that show that those cedars, I believe, are in that 5-foot strip. Laura's made the comment on the coastal embankment. I want to make it very clear that there is no cutting or alteration of vegetation that's on the coastal bank. It's in the buffer zone of the coastal bank. And there's a delineation here that relates to the slope and the break-in slope, where a 25% slope, which is quite steep, it's kind of hard to walk on it. That is the limit, landward limit of a coastal bank. And a 4-to-1 slope is not something that you can walk on practically, and it's not something that you see when you walk down the stairway and you look to the side. I kind of wish we'd located those trees as well, but I have pictures. I don't think it's practical that I put them up.
I
but
could,
it's my,
I could share them if you want from the,
Oh, yeah, let's take a
original
look.
filing. Do you want me to-
yeah, there should be some there, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it is, it's my opinion that they may be in the 5-foot strip, which is convenient.
So can you see that?
You see the lip of the coastal bank, which is slightly shaded.
I think the second picture maybe, oh, that's from this side.
Yeah, yeah.
There was another,
Those-
I think there was another one from the down below here.
There you
Yeah.
go. The coastal bank has a very distinct ridge. That's I've talked to Karen Johnson a lot about that. She was worried that it would, continue eroding, and it hasn't. I looked at that in 2011, and the only thing that lip, that scarp has done, with the exception of that small sandy area that you see there, is that it's been growing in. It's been growing in with the growth that's developed below it. And those trees that you see there are all landward of the top of the coastal bank. And I think the fringe or the woody vegetation that you see just above the railing and going to the right, that's some of the vegetation that Laura would be pruning
Yeah, I think there's
down, but you're not on the
picture
coastal
of
bank.
that.
You're in the buffer zone.
I think there was a landward picture. So that, yeah,
Yeah, there it is.
that's right on top of where that lip is.
Right. So those cedars, I think, will be relatively unaltered or unaffected by the work
Mhm.
of dealing with the root material, because there's no roots being taken at the location of those cedars.
Right. Well, this cedar in the middle of this picture clearly is not on the edge of the. That's a little inset from the bank edge
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and that bank has been in that condition for probably since 2008, and those trees have, they're weathered, but their roots are firmly in the upland.
Good. All right, I'm gonna stop.
But I just wanted to answer that question. I went on a little bit, but it's always something we really wish we'd located those cedars, but we just didn't.
You're welcome to update the plan and include the cedars and just submit it.
Do you
Drop it
do
by
you
the
have an
office.
as-built? Do you have an as-built requirement in your orders when you you
Usually,
require as-built?
yeah.
Yeah, so they could be demonstrated, their locations on an as-built.
Yeah, for our revetment projects, we do condition and as-built.
Okay, so we can have that. Are there any other questions from the commission? Concerns? Greg?
Yeah, I had a question. When you crop all the bushes in the 5-foot zone, is there any bare areas that you could put some ground cover in? Like within that 5-foot area? I mean, it doesn't look like those bushes are like so tight together that there's not going to be some open dirt or land there.
I'll let Laura go on it. We were proposing an overseeding of
okay.
all kinds of grasses.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't want to leave any possibility of erosion. So I want to put something in there. So I was just going to add some beach grasses because we'll be putting beach grasses in when we, use a tractor in the driveway area. So wherever there's any space, yeah, we won't know until we prune back what's kind of there,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll absolutely, like every couple inches, put a blade in of something.
Yeah, thank you.
So, there is another picture of the cedars that Mike took when we were out on the site, if anybody wants me to share that.
Yeah.
Screen real quickly. All right, I'll
Sure.
just do that. Oh. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So these look like it's further down on the,
Well, then they're even safer. They will be safer.
oop, did
But
I?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, okay. Any more questions on that? Other concerns? Okay, I'm gonna do any abutters on the call who want to weigh in? Okay. So it seems to me that we might be ready to vote on this. So, we already decided that the revetment was okay as presented. So there were no changes there. The new updated landscape plan and its additional details, I think we were good with. We do want to make sure those cedars are maintained in the project, so we'll note that. Okay, so if we could have I'm gonna lay it out and see if anybody wants to add that we have a motion to approve the project, the revetment as submitted, the landscaping plan as per the revised plan dated July 6th. The cedars shall be maintained where they are. Oh, this reminds me, did we want to discuss having this area as a no disturb zone? I think by the time it's all planted in, it's pretty much an area you're not going to be able to get into disturb. But is that something the commission was interested in requesting formally? Anybody? I don't see a lot of interest there. Okay. All right. So if we could have a motion to approve the revetment as submitted, the planting plan as submitted, dated July 6th, with a note that the cedars shall be maintained. We want to condition future pruning if we're allowing it to no more than once a year, which we discussed at the previous meeting. And we want to note the time of year restriction for the removal of the aluminum stairs. Our usual time of year restriction is November 15th through April 15th for all seasonally removed parts. Alex?
I just wanted to ask, with prior orders that involved pruning or vista management, typically we condition a certain height that the vegetation is pruned back to. I'm just curious on what the commission wants the wording to be for that condition on future pruning.
You're absolutely right. Thank you. And we usually condition it to no topping, but I think here we were talking, they were gonna, yeah. So what is Laura, you've been pruning it to a particular height?
Yes, between 5 and 6 feet.
6 feet. Does that still work for everybody?
The point.
My recollection was that the ground, the flush cut pruning was
Mhm.
going to spawn some growth. So that's where you're going to be starting. And that
Right.
spawned growth would then be maintained at some level that it might be something that you revisit at the certificate of compliance time, because you're not going to have 5 feet by the time you're in for a certificate of compliance.
Right, but normally when we get to the certificate of compliance, we're kind of locked in on the conditions we had in the order in terms of what we can do as an ongoing condition. So we like to get all of that stuff in when we do the order of conditions, so that we can do an ongoing condition as part of the certificate of compliance.
I see. That's helpful for me to know. Well, then I'll leave it to Laura. I think she said 5 or 6 feet. So if she'll be the one in charge of that.
Cinnamon?
So wasn't the original point of this that 5 or 6 feet was too high, and that's what got us here? So I feel, if I'm understanding all this, that it should be maintained at half that, because
Well,
that's why we're here.
But what is a healthy height for these particular plants?
So they're really, how do I want to say, old. But they've only been cut on the tops, so they're extremely woody, and so their vegetation growth is here. If we cut it all the way down one time, right? I don't know exactly. Nobody knows. Is it 3 years? Is it, how much? I don't know, right?
Can we
It's gonna depend on
revisit this
weather.
in 3 years?
But we're not really concerned with the 3 years if we want to give you an ongoing condition to do your pruning. So it's really not how much it's going to grow in 3 years. It's how much it's going to grow and at what level we're comfortable with having you maintain it, and not be topping it, just pruning it so that it remains a healthy plant.
If it would be, comfortable with the board, would it be possible to see what it's like to maintain it at 3 feet? And see if it, is able to grow enough vegetation to stay healthy, to photosynthesize itself, to keep the root system over time, blah, blah, blah. So that would be my thought to,
It's also possible to request an amended order to alter the pruning height if we are examining the conditions at the nearing the end of the order's term.
Right.
An amended order could be filed to set what is a practical pruning height at that time.
3 seems kind of short for me. Alex?
We could also set a range, so it could be like no lower than 3 feet, and then propose like 3 to 5, 3 to 6, so that we can have, I think typically the commission likes kind of an undulating pattern to the pruning, and instead of, as Karen mentioned, we don't want just a hedge trimmer to the top. So if we can have kind of a natural, look to it, with the range of, 3 to 5 feet, perhaps that would be appropriate.
That also might give you a little room to be a little lower where you want your view most, and then taller.
Yeah.
In the less impactful view corridor. I would be okay with that. The rest of you?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Chuck?
Why don't we say for, ongoing maintenance beyond the, termination of the, certificate of compliance, that, range of height between 3 and 5 feet is acceptable, and any change to that needs to go through the conservation agent.
Well, through the commission,
Well, yeah, I mean, he'd have
Yeah.
to bring it for us.
right, the vista pruning.
Yeah.
It could be maintained at 3 to 5 feet with an undulating pattern. A varied height within that range.
Yeah, no brush cuts.
Yeah, no bowl cuts, no crew cuts, no. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Does that I think that sounds good. Anything else that I missed as I was starting to go through it? That anybody noticed, Alex?
No, I think you're good. And that pruning condition would be, very similar to other orders that we've had on the, I know on Town Cove and elsewhere along the shore.
Right. We just like to have that worded in there appropriately so we can give the ongoing condition. Because if it's not, then it's a little trouble at the end to allow that. Okay, so let's try that again. So we would like to have a motion to approve the revetment as submitted with the July 6th planting vegetation plan, allowing vista pruning at 3 to 5 feet of that deciduous border edge on the seaward side of 3 to 5 feet with an undulating pattern of various heights within the range. That we were, yes, that the time of year restriction on the removal of the aluminum stairs, that the stairs would be out between November 15th and April 15th. And that we have the special conditions for revetment with nourishment. And I think we probably also want to have the special conditions for pruning and planting work. Don't we have that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we will certainly reference the planting plan and the approved protocols.
Right. Right. We have special conditions for tree pruning and removal, which is not quite this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think as proposed by you, Karen, I think that covers everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And was that clear enough so somebody can make that motion, or do I need to tighten it up?
Just say so moved.
Okay. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Cinnamon? Joanne?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
And then we have my agenda, continuation of notice of intent filed by David Silverman and Anna Davis. Applicant proposes to replace marine bulkhead with a stone revetment at property located at 11 Bayberry Lane, map 13, parcel 148. And I think we were just waiting for the DEP number on this one,
That's what I recall that, yes. We have it.
which we have. So we can now, let me just pull up my notes here for conditions. Okay. So, yeah, so we need a motion to approve with special conditions for revetments with nourishment. I know it's a, special, right. I think that was all we needed there.
Yep.
So somebody would like to make such a motion and then somebody jump in with a second?
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a quicker one. And thank you all for your time on this. It's good to see you all.
Good. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Perry.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your flexibility here and working with us.
Thanks again.
Okay. And all right. And that has us at staff updates.
Staff updates. I have nothing much to report this evening.
Okay. A violation updates?
Violation updates. Thankfully, no new violations, which I'm happy to report. The landscaper at 30 Sander Lane did remove the brush that was piled up along the property line. The site looks very clean. I thought he did great work. I will be going down to I'm blanking on the address, the motel, not the motel, the hotel, with the
Seaview.
Seaview. Thank you. I believe those mitigation plantings went in. There was a number of pitch pines that the commission approved as mitigation for that violation. I believe those went in either last week or the week before, so I'll be getting down there probably, if not later this week, early next week, just to confirm that.
Okay. Can I ask about the fence at 150 State? And
Good question. The fence at 150 State Highway is still in place. I've been talking with the owners. They are proceeding with, from what I understand, they're still going through housing court, dealing with Mr. Vecchione, and they've, requested that, they address the fence once they've addressed Mr. Vecchione. And so I'll get another update from them too. I'd like that fence to be moved or removed, ASAP. And so
Yeah.
I know that's what the commission wants as well. So I'll continue to stress that to the property owners and see if I can get, a date certain.
okay. Mike?
There were on one of the on-sites, we saw ash trees that had been cut down, clear cut into, and they were found by someone looking into conservation land. Did you ever get to the bottom of who might have done that?
The ash trees.
Yeah, remember
Is that
we went to
is
that
that
property.
also was also at the property at 30 Sander? Is that correct?
I think so.
The
yeah,
larger,
and-
I think they were black tupelos. They were
Oh,
cut.
sorry.
Yeah, they were cut on the Eastham Conservation Foundation property. I did send a letter to the other neighboring property. They didn't know anything about it, so I wasn't sure how much further I can pursue this without any evidence. So I think we kind of hit a dead end with that one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Liaison reports. Does any liaison have anything to report? Cinnamon?
We are meeting open space tomorrow. We did do a site visit with Alex, Rob, and Francis at Sandy Meadow, furthering along the land management plan. So it was good time spent out there, getting to know the property and putting together the plan. So, like I said, meeting tomorrow.
Okay. Sounds good. The meeting's always the day after.
Right.
So, yeah. Alex?
Yeah, I'll just mention a little follow-up from our site visit. I was very impressed with how the property's looking. As we were pursuing this updated land management plan, we want to outline our future maintenance, goals of the property. That the town did undertake that multi-year restoration project to keep portions of that property, the coastal heathland and sandplain grassland, and that seems to have been a great success. And so now currently we want to outline areas where we want to maintain that habitat and also tackle some invasive species that are popping up on the property. And so that's what we're going to focus on with our updated land management plan, which we need to send to the state to get approval, since this is in priority habitat. And so we want to get that approved prior to this winter, because during the winter is the ideal time to pursue this type of work. So that's kind of our plan going forward.
Greg?
Nothing to report. No meetings.
Okay. Janet?
Our next meeting won't be until early September.
And strategic, that was the CPA committee, just for anybody who's following along at home. And the strategic planning committee is meeting again in September. It recently presented an update to the select board. And the plan, people are doing, the various town departments and so on are doing their work, and things are moving forward nicely. So that's all I have until September for that. Other discussion. So it is that time of year, the first meeting in July, that we do our annual committee organization and elect officers. So we did a brief discussion on this during our June 9th work session, and now is the time we get to make this official. So we're gonna do it position by position, and I'm just gonna nominate myself to be chair again. Ask if anybody else, if somebody would like to second that, and
second.
if anybody else would like to put their hat in the ring here. No, okay. Okay, so having had a motion and a second, we're gonna vote. Joanne?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Alex? Not Alex, sorry. You can't vote. Sorry.
Yes.
Long day at Lupus Brain, and I'm still getting over that mouse that Ruby brought me during the Brownell Road hearing. Greg?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Cinnamon? And I'm a yes. And then Vice Chair, I know we had talked about, I'm seeing your text, Alex, and it's next on my list to talk about. Okay, so yeah, so we had talked about Mike being Vice Chair, and I'd like to nominate him for that position.
Second.
A second. There we go. Okay, Greg?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And then we do need a clerk, and this is something that's required, even though we have Amy who does that job so well for us, and does fabulous minutes, but we do need to have somebody in that role, or the town clerk's office will yell at me. So, so who would like to take that on? Okay, so Cinnamon just nominated herself, and I will second. So Cinnamon?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Yes.
Joanne? Janet?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you all. And just want to remind everybody that next Wednesday, July 22nd at 6 p.m., we will be having a work session. We will have Heather McElroy and Shannon Hulse from the Cape Cod Commission to talk to us about flood management and the MC firm, and the regulations we've been working on, coastal resilience regulations, followed by an opportunity to go through the regulations draft and to start to work on that a little further. And yeah, it's going to be all on Zoom. We're not meeting in person for this work session, just because this is how it's going to work. So that's at 6 o'clock. So hope to see you all there. And I will get you, I'm a little behind, but you will all have the revised draft that I promised by the end of the week. So, okay.
And it's Joanne's birthday on the 22nd.
Thank you, Cinnamon. You're such a good clerk.
So virtual cake.
Virtual cake, or wear a funny hat, or let's make it fun.
Okay, we will do that.
Fake mustache, if you don't already have one.
Karen, this is Wayne.
Yes.
No joke for you tonight. Adjourn now.
Somebody's getting a little cranky, needs a Snickers. Okay, so yeah, so I think we're done unless anybody has anything else they want to say. If we could have a motion to adjourn, followed quickly by a second.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, Cinnamon,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Wayne is 2 yeses. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Night, everyone.
Good night.